Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with sweet, salty, spicy nuts. That's right, when you go to as many parties as I do, you eat a lot of mixed nuts. And they generally range from plain to, man, I wish these were plain. And sure, you could go to the fancy gourmet shop and buy a little sack of nuts for like $10. But why pay all that money when you can make a better, perfectly glazed batch at home, seasoned exactly like you want? So we're going to start by tossing our nuts in a large metal bowl. I'm using 4 kinds. These are not salted. I have some walnut halves, some pecan halves, some whole cashews, and some whole almonds. So once your nuts are in the bowl, you're going to go ahead and spice them up any way you want. I'm going to go fairly standard, nothing too crazy. I'm going to go with some cayenne pepper. I know that's a big shock. So lots of cayenne. I like mine a little spicy. I'm also going to put in a pinch of cumin, which I find interesting in this, a good amount of salt, and some freshly ground black pepper. And that's pretty much it for me. If you want them to have a little bit of smokiness, you could use smoked paprika, chipotle, lots of different ways you can go here. Okay, once your nuts are seasoned to your liking, we're going to go over to the stove where we're going to make a very simple butter syrup, which is just butter, sugar, and water. Just put it in a small saucepan, put it over medium heat, give it a stir, and what's going to happen, the butter's going to melt, the sugar's going to dissolve, and it's going to start to boil. And as soon as it starts to bubble, I'm just going to let it cook for 1 minute and then turn it off. That's it. All right, once that's done, you're going to slowly and carefully pour that over your nuts and then take a big old spatula and give it a nice mixing. All right, it's going to be very thin at first because it's still very hot. But as it starts to coat those nuts, it's going to thicken up a little bit. You're going to see your nuts become very glossy, just gorgeous. And once that's all mixed together, we're pretty much ready for the oven. So what we're going to do is we're going to prep a sheet pan by covering it in foil. I'm going to spray it with some vegetable oil. We're going to use our spatula to transfer the nuts onto the pan. All right, I want to spread them out into basically a single layer, but they definitely should be nestled up against each other. It's not a problem if your nuts are touching each other. That looks perfect. And those are going to go in a preheated 350-degree oven for exactly 10 minutes. And 10 minutes later, they're going to be partially roasted, not totally done, but getting close. So what we're going to do at this point, we're going to take our spatula and we're going to give them a toss right on the pan. And what's going to happen, that really hot, quite thin sugar syrup that currently is like 350 degrees is going to cool down a little bit. It's going to thicken up a little bit. And you're going to see as you keep stirring this, your nuts are going to get a little sticky. That syrup's going to thicken up a little bit, and it's going to coat them beautifully. And as you stir, you're going to see less and less on the bottom of the pan because it's going to be attached to your nuts. So I probably stirred that for about 4 or 5 minutes. At that point, I'm going to spread them back out, put it back in the oven for exactly 6 minutes. And at that point, your sweet, salty, spicy nuts should be done. They should be perfectly roasted. And as they cool, they're going to get the look of those fancy gourmet shop nuts. They should have a beautiful glaze. Not only are they as beautiful as the ones from the gourmet shop, you get to make them and spice them any way you want. So this really is a great method, and as you saw, extremely simple. And of course, yes, this would make a great homemade edible holiday gift. All right, I'm going to try these, even though, to be honest, I've already had like 30 of them. So delicious. What do they taste like? Read the title. They're sweet, salty, spicy, and they're definitely nuts. And of course, for all those fancy parties you're going to serve these at, you want to present them nicely. I'm using some faux nambe, which I think is very lovely. And like I said earlier, sure, it's easy to buy one of those expensive bags or cans of nuts, throw it in a bowl, put it out at a party. But with just a little bit of extra effort, you can really demonstrate you truly care what kind of nuts your guests are reaching for at a party. Okay? And I think that's very important. So I really hope you give these a try. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.